Welcome to this explainer. Right now, we're diving into a seriously fascinating development in nanomedicine. We're talking about nanocarriers, specifically something called polymeric micelles. Think of them as high-tech, microscopic delivery trucks that are literally revolutionizing how we treat cancer. So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the cancer drug dilemma, then meet the polymeric micelle. After that, we'll look at passive targeting in leaky tumors, move on to active targeting with homing beacons, and finally wrap things up with the future of nanomedicine.
All right, section 1, the cancer drug dilemma.
To really grasp the fundamental hurdle in modern oncology, you've got to wrap your head around this number, 75%. An incredible 75% of pharmaceutical compounds currently in development, plus about 40% of drugs already on the market, share a massive flaw. They are highly hydrophobic. Basically, they hate water. And even with all our advanced chemical engineering, scientists really struggle to make these drugs dissolve in the body without destroying their cancer-fighting power. And because these anti-cancer drugs are so stubbornly hydrophobic, delivering them intravenously is honestly a nightmare. It's kind of like trying to force jagged rocks through delicate microscopic plumbing. If the drug doesn't dissolve in the bloodstream, it clumps up. These undissolved aggregates can actually block or embolize tiny blood capillaries that are under 5 micrometers wide. This causes severe toxicity before the medicine even gets near the tumor. Plus, the body just naturally flushes out or breaks down what it can't dissolve. So at the end of the day, very little of the actual medicine gets to where it's desperately needed.
Let's move to section 2, meet the polymeric micelle.
The solution here relies on a really special class of molecules called amphiphilic block copolymers. Now, being amphiphilic just means the molecule has a bit of a split personality. One part is hydrophilic, water-loving, and the other part is hydrophobic, water-fearing. This dual nature is absolutely the magic behind the micelle. When you drop enough of these molecules into a watery environment like the human bloodstream, reaching what's called a critical micelle concentration, they automatically self-assemble. They naturally organize themselves into a structure specifically to protect those water-fearing tails.
And this self-assembly creates our high-tech delivery truck. It's a brilliant structural solution. On one side, the hydrophobic tails clump together, forming a dense core. This core acts like a safe vault, perfectly trapping and dissolving those toxic, poorly soluble cancer drugs inside. Meanwhile, on the outside, the hydrophobic heads face outward to form a protective shell. This is usually made of a polymer called PEG, or polyethylene glycol. So the dangerous cargo is safely hidden in the core, while that water-friendly shell lets the whole package just glide smoothly through the bloodstream.
Now, size is everything here. These perfectly packaged spherical nanoconstructs are incredibly tiny. We're talking just 10 to 100 nanometers. To put that into perspective, they are in an absolute biological Goldilocks zone. They're small enough to sneak past the liver's mononuclear phagocytic system so they don't get swept up, but they're just big enough to avoid being instantly filtered out and flushed away by your kidneys. This perfect sizing massively boosts the drug's bioavailability, keeping it circulating in the blood for much, much longer. Okay, section 3, passive targeting and leaky tumors. So we have our delivery truck, but how does it find the tumor? Well, what's truly fascinating about the EPR effect, the enhanced permeability and retention effect, is how it actually uses the tumor's own greedy, rapid growth against it. As a tumor grows out of control, it desperately needs nutrients and oxygen. To get them, it builds new blood vessels, but it builds them really fast and, frankly, really sloppily. Let's look at exactly how this EPR effect plays out. First, our micelles are just circulating freely, totally protected by that PEG shield we talked about. Second, because those hastily built tumor blood vessels are so sloppy, they have abnormally large gaps between their cells, sometimes 200 to 800 nanometers wide. So our tiny 10 to 100 nanometer micelles, they just slip right through these vascular potholes straight into the tumor tissue. And third, because the growing tumor is expanding so violently, it physically compresses and collapses its own lymphatic drainage vessels. The micelles get in through the leaky blood vessels, but they literally can't drain away. They are just retained right there in the tumor. But, of course, there's a catch. We hit a complication known in the field as the PEG dilemma. That brilliant hydrophilic coating that protects the micelle in the bloodstream, the one that keeps it circulating long enough to find those leaky vessels, well, once the micelle is actually sitting in the tumor tissue, that exact same PEG shield can prevent the drug from getting inside the cancer cells to do its job. So passive accumulation gets the drugs into the right neighborhood, but as we just saw, it isn't quite enough to guarantee cell entry, which leads us to a pretty critical question. How do we ensure the drug actually breaches the fortress doors? How do we upgrade from just finding the general neighborhood to hitting the exact cellular address? That brings us to Section 4, active targeting with homing beacons. To basically force the cancer cells to take the drug inside, researchers can attach specific chemical keys, we call them targeting ligands, to the water-exposed ends of the micelle shell. These act like highly specific homing beacons, and scientists have a whole toolkit to choose from here. They can use large antibodies, smaller peptides, proteins, complex 3D folded aptamers, or even just simple small molecules like folate. This breakdown really highlights the incredible specificity scientists are engineering today. You see, cancer cells tend to overexpress certain receptors on their surfaces to fuel their rapid growth. So researchers match a unique ligand key on the micelle to a specific receptor lock on the tumor. For example, attaching transferrin targets ovarian carcinoma. A cyclic RGD peptide seeks out integrin receptors on glioblastomas. Folate targets cancers that are literally hungry for folate. And the A10 aptamer hones right in on prostate cancer. It's precision medicine at its finest. The crucial takeaway here is that we aren't just blindly dumping packages on the tumor's front lawn anymore. By using these homing beacons, the micelle binds directly to the cancer cell's receptors. This triggers receptor-mediated endocytosis. Basically, it forces the cancer cell to swallow the micelle whole. We are hand-delivering that toxic payload directly inside the enemy's cell, where it can do maximum damage. And for patients, that means significantly fewer debilitating side effects and much better overall outcomes. Finally, Section 5, the future of nanomedicine. The capabilities of polymeric micelles are just exploding right now. We're moving towards smart micelles with tunable payload releases. That means they only drop the drug when they're triggered by a specific environment, like the high acidity inside a tumor. They're also proving really effective at overcoming multi-drug resistance. But honestly, the most exciting part is their ability to carry complex macromolecules. Soon, these microscopic vehicles could deliver cutting-edge siRNA to silence cancer-causing genes, while simultaneously dropping traditional chemotherapy to kill the cell. All from the exact same micelle. But we have to be careful. The very same properties that make nanomedicine so effective also demand a ton of caution. When you shrink materials down to the nanoscale, 10 to 100 nanometers, they get vastly increased surface-to-volume ratios. This drastically changes their surface chemistry. It makes them highly reactive in completely unpredictable ways, at least compared to how those exact same materials behave in bulk form. And because this field is moving at such breakneck speed, it is dangerously easy to overlook some of these toxicity concerns. As we know, material properties differ significantly at the nanoscale. We absolutely need rigorous systemic toxicology studies. We have to make sure that while we're building the perfect microscopic delivery trop, we aren't inadvertently engineering brand new, unforeseen chemical hazards inside the human body. So as we look to the horizon of nanomedicine, I want to leave you with this to think about. We literally have the capability to engineer the most precise, optimized, life-saving cancer delivery systems ever conceived. But how will researchers perfectly balance the inherent, unpredictable toxicity of these highly reactive, nanoscale materials with their incredible targeting precision in the clinics of tomorrow? It's a scientific tightrope walk, for sure, but it's one that holds the promise of fundamentally rewriting how we treat cancer. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the incredible science shaping our world.